Do anime awards need to change? Let's talk about that. What's up, guys? It's your boy, and today I'm going to be talking about a couple different anime awards programs, I guess. They're not both shows, but just kind of anime awards, the state that they're in, and kind of talk about that because I feel like anime awards have a lot to do in terms of growth. I think having anime awards is a good thing in concept, and we're seeing some people attempt to do that, but I still think we're a long way from where we need to be, and I'm going to discuss a couple reasons why I think that is. And I'm going to be using two award shows. One is the Crunchyroll Awards, and the other is the Anime Trending Awards, because I think that they both kind of get two different sides of anime awards, but they still don't kind of get what I think is the crux of the problem. So, before I get into those, you already know what to do. There's a couple buttons down below. One kind of looks like that, and the other is a red button that says subscribe. If you click both of them, it would make me very happy. So let's go ahead and do that and get straight into the content now. And that's going to start with the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. And the Crunchyroll Anime Awards are definitely the biggest anime awards show there is. They have celebrity presenters. They have musical performances that are of like anime songs, which is really neat. This year, they held it in Tokyo with real industry professionals present there. It's a big deal. Just in general for the anime industry, I feel like this is really kind of the penultimate anime awards show at this point. But there's a lot still to be done, in my opinion, because really, in terms of everything, it's a popularity contest. And I know you've probably heard that before, but it's not a popularity contest in the way that I think most people kind of describe it. How is that the case? That it's not just like, it's not just a popularity contest, it's more than that. What am I saying? Well, let's take a look at kind of the winners of a lot of the categories. So, yes, you have Demon Slayer winning a lot. Yes, you have Attack on Titan winning a lot. But really, having these shows win isn't a bad thing inherently. And to illustrate this point, I kind of want to talk about the Tonys. And the Tonys are Broadway awards. For those of you who don't really care all that much about Broadway, it does not matter. I'll be able to make this point anyways. I'm sure you've heard of the musical Hamilton. Hamilton's the biggest musical out there, and guess what? It won all of the Tonys because it was that good. It was revolutionary. It did things in the industry that people had never seen before, and it got the recognition that it deserved for doing so. Just like how, in terms of like animation, for instance, Demon Slayer has some amazing animation. Attack on Titan has really cool story elements. And you have these shows that are popular for a reason. However, you don't always have the right categories for these shows. Case in point, one that I think is probably the hottest kind of debated or talked about at the very least, categories within the Crunchyroll Awards this past year was Best Fantasy Anime. Now, what do you think? If you haven't seen the Crunchyroll Anime Awards results, what would you think would win this? Maybe Mushoku Tensei or Overlord or some isekai? No, none of those. It was Demon Slayer. And don't get me wrong, Demon Slayer, in the kind of adjective descriptor of the term, is a fantasy, right? It doesn't take place in the normal world. It has its own world with supernatural abilities. Therefore, it's a fantasy. But when you look at anime, fantasy is not so much a descriptor as it is a genre. And because of that, it kind of misses the point to have Demon Slayer win Best Fantasy Anime. Along with that, you also have categories, for instance, Best Girl and Best Boy, not being present in the awards show. And especially in the case of Best Girl is kind of a hotly debated topic every year among anime fans. So to strip them of a kind of voting category for that entirely is definitely something that was off-putting to a lot of anime fans. Instead, they had a category for the Must Protect, I believe, character, which I really kind of view that as we need to give Anya an award. How are we going to do so? So they created that category. The only other character that kind of even was maybe a player in that category was Boji from Ranking of Kings. But in general, the categories feel kind of weak. There are some good ones out there. There's some kind of unique ones that I quite like. I think best new anime, like original anime, I think is what it was called, something of that nature. And then they also have like voice acting ones, and I think that they should have those categories, but I definitely think they need to better specify some of the categories, and for some of these popular shows, not let them into categories that they don't truly belong in. And really, that's a lot of the overarching problems that I have with the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, but there's other things you can kind of nitpick at too. For instance, speaking about the fact that they happened in Tokyo this year, that's a good thing, I think, to hold them in the place where the anime industry is at its most prevalent, the place where it's being designed, the room where it happens, if you will. But that said, even though they hold it in Tokyo, that kind of meant that they completely disregarded time zones in the United States. And I get that anime is technically made for the people of Japan, and we are just kind of the domestic users of it in the United States here, but for Eastern Standard Time, I believe it started at 4 o'clock in the morning, just the way it was scheduled. And 4 o'clock in the morning is not a time when anybody in Eastern Standard Time is going to set their alarms and wake up, unless they're just that passionate about watching the Anime Awards, which if you are, more power to you, but I would wager to say that 95+% of even the most like passionate anime fans aren't willing to do that. They'll read the results in the morning. And that applies for most other time zones too. It's pretty late. I think Pacific time probably got the best end of the deal because it was really just kind of a super late night for them. But Eastern time, it's well after you've gone to sleep, even on a late night. So with that said, I'm not saying it has to cater to an American audience, but finding a good kind of middle ground time to where it works both in Tokyo and the United States would help bolster the numbers and help the notoriety for the show that much more. Because I really think that Crunchyroll is trying to legitimize the Anime Awards, and I commend them for that, but there's also one other problem. I've kind of talked about how I think it feels like kind of a popularity contest with Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan winning a ton of the awards. And again, I don't think that's a necessarily bad thing. However, what is bad is when you try to create an illusion of having a mix of critics and a popular vote, merging it together, and then all the popular shows win. Because then the shows that were like not recognized as much don't get the recognition they deserve. And it's interesting because the awards that do this better are the other awards that I'm going to start talking about now, which are the Anime Trending Awards. Which, first off, to the Anime Trending Awards, we have to talk about the fact that they included 2022 fall anime. For instance, Bocce the Rock. For instance, Mob Psycho 100. For instance, the list goes on and on and on. Chainsaw Man. You could talk for hours about all of the great fall of 2022 anime that were recognized in the Anime Trending Awards that Crunchyroll set the cutoff date so that they wouldn't be included. This, I think, will be okay on Crunchyroll's part if they recognize them in the next year's show. Because really, I think the thought process behind that is a lot of these fall 2022 shows are not quite finished yet, or we haven't really had the time to gather our thoughts enough to fully include them in these awards. Whereas Anime Trending isn't as big, and so they go ahead and just kind of put them on the list. And I think that's okay. But if Crunchyroll does not include fall 2022 anime in the next award show, then I will not be happy, because those shows deserve a lot of recognition. There were a lot of top tier shows that will not get recognition if that is the case. As I said, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here, but if they don't do it, I will not be happy with them for that fact. Anime Trending is admittedly, like you would see this on their Twitter, on their website, wherever, it's popular vote. People vote on who they like the best. And their awards are no different. I could go to their website and I could vote on the Anime Trending Awards, who I thought should win. But the interesting thing is, you would think that it's going to be a lot more popular vote like the rest of the anime awards are, right? But that's not the case. And I think the reason for this is you don't have a lot of these big players recognized as much because the fans on Anime Trending are the more kind of serious fans of anime. And what I mean by that is Anime Trending isn't a like $100+ million mega corporation that has a big advertising for these popular shonen, right? Anime Trending is just going to have lists of anime and say, here, vote on the thing, and the people who keep up with seasonal shows are the ones who vote on it. So, for the winners of the different categories, for instance, Best Boy, which they have as a category, along with Best Girl, Best Supporting Boy, Best Supporting Girl, a lot more kind of specific categories, heck, even Best Couple, Best Ship, things like that people can vote on, and you have winners like Shinpei as the Best Boy from Summertime Rendering, a show that not a lot of people watched because it didn't come to the United States until a month or two ago when it came to Hulu. I was fortunate enough to watch it before it came to that platform in Japan when it was still region locked, but even still, a lot of American anime fans still haven't watched it, and yet there was enough seasonal anime fan watchers that Shinpei was able to win that category. You also had, for the Anime of the Year, Bocce the Rock winning, an original show from the fall of 2022 that wasn't even nominated in the Crunchyroll Awards because it came out in the fall of 2022. Now, is this to say that popular vote is the way to go and we finally have it figured out and the Anime Trending is just way, way, way better than Crunchyroll? No, I actually don't believe so. Now, I think that Anime Trending, in terms of the winners, has a lot more kind of niche shows and a lot more of the kind of winners that should be in the Crunchyroll Awards for kind of these original concepts now being brought to the forefront. However, I think there is a place for two separate kinds of award shows in this case. For the Academy Awards, the Oscars, you and I, you the viewer and myself, assuming that you're not part of the Academy, do not vote on what movies are the best movies of the year. The Academy does that. That's a select group of critics who get together and they vote on what the best movies are. And I would wager to say that you and myself have not seen most of the Best Picture nominees from even this year for the Academy Awards, such as Tar, Women Talking, any of them. Heck, I haven't even seen Everything Everywhere All at Once yet, the Best Picture winner. But even with that said, my point is that it is a bunch of critics who really take this as a job seriously to look at different movies and put together a list of the best. And because of that, you don't see Top Gun Maverick winning the Oscars. It was nominated, but it's not going to win Best Picture. It's going to be the one that critically is better recognized and seen in a different light than some of these more popular films, which are good, and the Academy obviously recognizes them, but they aren't to the level of these more critical masterpieces that have a lot more artistic kind of backgrounds and new things tried that some of these more popular shows do, because the popular things want to play it safe and they want to cater to the interests of a broad audience. That's not a bad thing, but it also kind of means for the Anime Awards that these lesser known shows are not going to be brought to the forefront as they should. So I think there's a place for two kinds of award shows: critic awards and popular awards. And as it stands right now, you have Anime Trending, which is strictly popular, and at least they're choosing an avenue, and then the Crunchyroll Awards, which are trying to do a weird mishmash of critic opinions, taking a small percentage of the vote, and then the popular vote getting a larger percentage. And it turns out to be, for the most part, a popularity contest of all the most popular things winning. And look, I think all of the winners of the Anime Awards are deserving of awards. I think they're all deserving of praise, and I think they all have their own unique things to offer. However, as somebody who watches anime and keeps track of the industry, I think it's important to look at the standards for things, how things are done, and try to make them better. So what I would say at this point is, while the Crunchyroll Awards are good, and I think they're going in the right direction, I really do, I think there's still a lot of progress to be made. And I'll be curious to see if maybe some smaller contender, maybe the Anime Trending Awards will get a lot bigger. But if we see any other kind of anime awards shows or programs start to grow and maybe take a more unique approach to things. I mean, heck, there's multiple award shows for different types of media. MTV has their own award show. You got the Golden Globes. You got all sorts of different things that cater to different kinds of entertainment and markets. So surely there could be multiple anime awards. But that said, that's just some of my thoughts. If you agree, feel free to leave a comment as to some of the things you agreed with. If you disagree, also feel free to leave a comment. I read all the comments, and I always love hearing your guys' opinions. I have been Jelswick, and I will see you guys in the next video. I promise the Japan vlogs are coming soon. They will be here at some point. I'm working on it. Don't you guys worry.